In today's video, we are going over my top 5 Mets fringe players to watch out for in spring training that are competing for some of the last roster spots on the opening day roster. Let's get into it. All right, Mets fans, it's your boy CP. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the True Mets Talk podcast. Baseball is in the air. It is a lovely February 21st, a Friday. Happy Friday to all. We have New York Mets baseball officially back in action starting tomorrow with spring training game 1 against the Houston Astros. Before we fully get into this video, please do, as always, subscribe to the channel if you enjoy these discussions and daily videos. If you enjoy the content, please hit the thumbs up on this video and let me know your thoughts and opinions about the players that I'm talking about in this video down in the comment section down below. Check out all the latest content. Link's going to be in the description down below to those videos and streams as well. And if I miss any players in this video that you think deserve recognition that we're going to be watching in spring training, please let me know as well. But here it is, without further ado, my top 5 players. Coming in at number 5, Genesis Cabrera, who was signed to a minor league deal by the New York Mets this offseason, has spent time in the Cardinals organization and most recently in the Toronto Blue Jays organization. He is a fiery lefty and is going to be competing in spring training for one of the last spots, the last spot in this bullpen. The bullpen we've talked about all offseason long with the re-signing of Ryan Stanek, the mainstays of Reid Garrett, as well as Jose Butto, Edwin Diaz, and also the huge addition as a setup guy in AJ Minter. Now, there's a lot of depth pieces in this bullpen that will be competing for this last roster spot ahead of Genesis Cabrera, but he has a little bit of an advantage here in terms of being a lefty. Again, the numbers in Toronto were a lot better over the past season and a half objectively, as you can tell on your screen. He got traded from the Cardinals to the Blue Jays midway through the 2023 season, and these are the last 2 seasons for him respectively. Just under 56 innings pitched in 2023, appeared in 61 games, posting a 4.04 ERA, 62 and 2/3 innings pitched in 2024 in a Blue Jays uniform, and the numbers at face value were objectively better, posting a 3.59 ERA in 69 games, but the walks and hits per innings pitched approaching 1.50 for Genesis Cabrera needs work. And if he's going to make this roster and appear in Queens come opening day, he's going to have an uphill battle to climb, because as you see these numbers on the right-handed side of your screen, there is a lot of discrepancy in terms of how he posted and how he got to diminish that ERA, going from 4.04 in 2023 to 3.59 in 2024. The strikeout rate, as you can tell, dipped dramatically to under league average, going from 24.3 down to just 18.5%. The walk rate has always been an issue with Genesis Cabrera. He's a little bit wild at times, doesn't have the best command either. So that's something to watch out for if he's able to hone in on that aspect of his pitches in spring training. And also the hard hit rate, which served him tremendously in 2024 during his time with the Toronto Blue Jays, going down from 47.7% to a more respectable, but still a little bit of a high number there at 41.1% in the hard hit rate category. So opposing hitters have been hitting the ball hard off of Genesis Cabrera. That has been a consistent thing for him. He's going to have to find a way to mitigate that, and he's also going to have to find a way to throw strikes. Genesis Cabrera was a high upside signing when we talk about an offseason that has had a plethora of high upside signings, even going back to the previous offseason, going into the 2024 season under the David Stearns regime. This is another guy that falls into that category. And again, with the electricity on his fastball, upwards of 96, 97 miles per hour, I like these types of guys in the bullpen that give you a lot of velocity. He just needs to find the location in order to be successful, but that's been the biggest thing of his career so far is can he find the location? Can he stop walking batters? And can he go ahead and produce a little bit more weaker of contact than he has been able to over the past couple of seasons? So we'll see if the hard hit rate trend continues downward for Genesis Cabrera, and we will see if he is able to beat out some of the other names that we'll be talking about in this video for that last bullpen spot. Moving on to number 4, we have Jared Young, who was another minor league deal for David Stearns this past offseason. He's had a limited sample size at the major league level over the past couple of seasons. You see on the right-handed side of your screen. Over the past couple of seasons since 2022, he's only appeared in 22 major league games, and the numbers really haven't been impressive, to be honest with you, in a Chicago Cubs uniform. But something that's very intriguing, and I've been watching a couple of snippets of his, at-bats and swings in spring training. Clearly, he is a left-handed bat. He's got some power to him. He's got some gap-to-gap power in him as well, let alone the home run power, which we saw across his 2024 campaign. He split some time in the Cardinals AAA affiliate organization in 2024, posting 74 games, a 285 batting average with 11 home runs and a 917 OPS. And then he went over to the KBO and he played in Korea, where he posted 38 games, a 326 batting average with 10 home runs and over 1,000 OPS. He is a utility player. He can play the outfield. He can play second base. I believe he can play a little bit of third base if you really need him to as well, although the Mets clearly have Mark Vientos taking up that position. So second base is something to keep an eye out for. And especially in addition to one of the other, split contract deals that David Stearns gave out in terms of Nick Madrigal, who I'll talk about here in just a second as well. He didn't make my top 5, spoiler alert, but he will be in my honorable mentions. Jared Young has a clear advantage over a guy like Nick Madrigal. He has the experience. He's only 28 years old when it's all said and done here going into the 2025 season as well. So he's still kind of in that time range of the prime of his career, but can he show anything with his bat in spring training? That is why I am kind of excited to see if he could be at least a fill-in bench piece for the New York Mets if they decide to go with Luisangel Acuna starting off his season in AAA. The direct competition here is definitely going to be Nick Madrigal for Jared Young. So number 4 on my list is Jared Young, an impressive 2024 campaign both in AAA and in the KBO. But can that success transfer over and translate over into Queens at the major league level? Now, coming in at number 3, longtime Met at this point since 2021, coming over from the Toronto Blue Jays organization, is Sean Reid-Foley. Just like Genesis Cabrera, Sean Reid-Foley is going to be vying for that last spot in this bullpen. We talk about, again, the mainstays of the bullpen. The top 6 are already figured out. I've been stating that time and time again on all my content on this channel. The top end of the bullpen is already figured out. There is essentially, right, one more spot left to give out. And this is going to be between guys like Genesis Cabrera and now Sean Reid-Foley, who I'm talking about here as well. The injury concerns loom large always for Sean Reid-Foley. You can see in 2023, he only posted just under 8 innings pitched and only appeared in 8 games in 2023. 2024, we got a little bit more sample size from Sean Reid-Foley, 21 2/3 innings pitched, a 1.66 ERA. He started the season off in 2024 on the IL, battling a shoulder impingement. He actually appeared and started to appear in games for the Mets in late April, and then he was put on the IL again with that same shoulder impingement in mid-June. He was rehabbing sometime in August, and the rehab starts just simply stalled. And he could not get, that figured out, and they effectively shut him down thereafter for the rest of the 2024 season. So Sean Reid-Foley is a guy that I actually like. I like his stuff, and I like the aggressiveness that he has on the mound. The other part of his game that definitely needs some work, especially when we're talking about guys that don't have that control and command of their pitches, a 15.6 walk percentage in 2024, even given the 1.66 ERA, that needs to be improved upon. There are a lot of base runners that are able to get free passes when Sean Reid-Foley is on the mound, and that's simply unsustainable if he wants to crack this Mets bullpen come opening day. He needs to get that figured out. But another guy that knows how to put hitters away when he does have the control of his pitches, 27.8 in the strikeout rate category, well above league average. Sean Reid-Foley is a name that, again, is very enticing because in the limited sample size over the last couple of seasons that we've seen him on the mound in Queens, I like what I see from Sean Reid-Foley. He's going to attack hitters. Yes, he has the walks issue that I just mentioned, but he's going to go after hitters. He's a bulldog on the mound, and he can even appear and be in that long relief role if you really need him to. And that's where I see him as an asset. But everything that we have to know about Sean Reid-Foley, we're going to find out in spring training as he tries to make this push one last time in the Mets organization to make this opening day roster. So number 3, Sean Reid-Foley, of my top 5 players to watch out for in spring training. Now moving on into some of the more obvious answers here, right? Brett Baty. All eyes for me are on Brett Baty as he tries to also win one of the last roster spots and has a clear advantage in that category while getting second base reps as well. He's a little bit of an older quote unquote prospect. I have actually graduated him from that prospect status in my mind now that we've seen him in just under 160 games collectively in his MLB career, which has been a crapshoot. I mean, it genuinely has been. In 2022, when he made that, come up to the major leagues, first home run, first at bat in Atlanta, it was all fine and dandy. And then he kind of fizzled off before they shut him down for the rest of the season with the thumb injury. But in 2022, 11 games, 184 in the batting average category, and a 586 OPS, really got that full-time status in 2023 at third base, posted 108 games, still had some injury concerns as well, only a 213 batting average, 9 home runs. So again, he's not really living up to that, 14, 15, 16 home run type potential and a 598 OPS in that 2023 season. But again, everybody likes to label him a quadruple A player, and he needs to be able to break free from that label. 2024 in AAA, 62 games, a 252 batting average, 16 home runs. Again, he can hit home runs in AAA. We need to see that power and that gap-to-gap power translate over on the Major League diamond, an 854 OPS in AAA as well in those 62 games. But the 2024 season, when he started off in Queens, 50 games posted, a 229 batting average, only 4 home runs, and a 633 OPS. Now he is taking reps not only at third base, but also at second base and also at first base. Now, he's not going to be a first base option for the New York Mets. We know that already. But at second base, I'm not saying that he deserves or he's going to win that job from a guy like Luisangel Acuna or maybe even a guy like Jared Young. But again, it's about understanding and trying to figure out, is Jeff McNeil going to be the everyday starter at second base come opening day? And can the Mets rely on that middle infield tandem between McNeil and Lindor and potentially utilize another lefty bat off the bench in Brett Baty if he impresses enough? Now, if I had to guess, I think that regardless of what Brett Baty does, he's going to be in AAA to start his season, but stranger things have happened. Again, the Mets are fighting this battle now with Brett Baty in terms of trying to figure out, is he going to be a mainstay in this organization at some sort of capacity, in Queens, or are they going to try to trade him at some point, whether it's the deadline or next offseason? But before they trade him, if that's the route that they are already thinking about and are going to choose, how do the Mets best get his trade value up? The only way to do that is getting reps at the major league level and showing that he can handle major league pitching. So that's why I'm watching out for Brett Baty. There is a slim chance I will say slim at this point until further notice that he can make the opening day roster. Do I think it's possible? Yes. Do I think it's likely? No. But I'm just gonna say this right now. I'm watching him very closely in spring training. He needs to show Mets fans and he needs to show me something as well with his performance here in this spring training season. And coming in at number one, Luisangel Acuna. We've already talked about Jared Young. We haven't talked about Nick Madrigal a lot, even though that a lot of Mets fans, have been sort of slating Nick Madrigal as that Jose Iglesias signing 2.0 in terms of being that utility player. Luisangel Acuna, clearly, for me, as I've been talking about the last bench spot on this roster, I think that he is going to win that spot. And eventually, if McNeil slips up, he is going to be the everyday starting second baseman at some point for the New York Mets in 2025 if Jeff McNeil cannot figure it out with the bat. Now, everybody wants to talk about Luisangel Acuna's AAA numbers. I understand it. 131 games. It wasn't really impressive. 258 batting average, only a 654 OPS. The power wasn't really there, only 7 home runs. But something shifted when he got up to Queens down the stretch in September, playing meaningful games, filling in for Francisco Lindor, who went down with the back injury. 14 games, over 300 batting average, 3 home runs in those 14 games. So the power was much more evident in Queens than it was in AAA, and he posted a 966 OPS. He also had himself a very impressive Venezuelan Winter League in 30 games, posting a 914 OPS with 3 home runs as well. The stolen bases are definitely a thing that you are going to get from Luisangel Acuna with that speed. And if Luisangel Acuna somehow finds his way into this Mets lineup on a consistent basis, he is the perfect 9-hole hitter with that speed, with that ability to get on base, to flip the lineup over to the top of the lineup. And he also posted 17 RBIs in the Venezuelan Winter League. It's all about the reps for Luisangel Acuna, right? Do the Mets want to get him the most reps, and where's that going to be? Now, Carlos Mendoza and David Stearns have already said he has the ability to win this starting second base job out of spring training. Do I think that it's likely? No, because I think Jeff McNeil is going to get one last chance, whether anybody thinks he deserves it or not. I think it's going to be Jeff McNeil. But given the lack of other options as a backup shortstop, right, to Francisco Lindor, nobody else can really fit that bill, fit that mold, maybe outside of Ronnie Mauricio, who's definitely going to be starting in AAA. Luisangel Acuna, that is the advantage here for him. But again, I think he's going to be a very special ball player for this organization. He did not miss a beat, or he did not skip a beat when he came up to Queens. And I think the raw tools that he has, right? The quick hands, the quick feet, the ability to show some pop with his bat. I think he's going to be a great ball player. And I'm very excited to see Luisangel Acuna in spring training, and also very excited to see if the Mets actually give him that last roster spot, or if they go elsewhere to another veteran player, let's say maybe a stopgap bench player in Jared Young, or one of the guys that's right here on my honorable mention list in Nick Madrigal that you can see in the top right-hand side of your screen. And I'm not going to talk about these honorable mentions too much because this video is getting way longer than I actually intended it to, so hopefully you all don't mind that. But Nick Madrigal is an interesting player to watch out for because, again, if the Mets have this notion during spring training that, okay, we were thinking about putting Luisangel Acuna on the opening day roster, but now we want to get him the most reps possible. He's going to be probably starting off his season in AAA. Well, if you want that stopgap middle infield option, more of a veteran option, you can go with Jared Young, who came in at number 4 on my list in this video, or you can go with Nick Madrigal, who really just hasn't figured it out at the MLB level in the entirety of his career so far. He's still a pretty young player, and he had a lot of hype surrounding him when he first came up, but he just hasn't put it together. Jared Young, that I talked about just recently here in this video, has the skill set and has the upside with the bat. in terms of the actual ceiling that they possess. And Nick Madrigal, he doesn't have that ceiling with his bat. His ceiling is more geared towards the defensive capabilities that he possesses up the middle. So maybe that's what David Stearns values, and he's going to be another Joey Wendell 2.0 to start the season. And when the time comes when the Mets don't really need him anymore, maybe he's a DFA candidate at that point. So that is my outlook in terms of this dynamic and this tandem of these middle infield guys in spring training between Jared Young, Luisangel Acuna, and Nick Madrigal. If you ask me what my answer is, I think Luisangel Acuna is going to perform in spring training. I think he's going to impress, and I think he's going to give the Mets no options but to put him on that open day roster. At least that's what I hope. So that is my thought process on that last bench spot. But other names to watch out for in the bullpen down below, Danny Young, another lefty reliever, has had pretty decent success all in all compared to what we really thought he was going to produce when he first came up with the Mets in 2024 in the big leagues. Clearly had big shoes to fill, given that he was essentially taking over the spot of Brooks Raley. So I think that if he has a strong spring training and beats out a guy like, you know, Genesis Cabrera, who I just talked about, and the Mets actually want to deploy that dual lefty bullpen, Danny Young is going to be the immediate candidate there. And he also doesn't have any minor league options to his name as well. But that battle is going to be interesting to see if the Mets are actually serious about going with two lefties. Is that going to be the competition between Danny Young and Genesis Cabrera? Or again, they can just go with a righty like Reid-Foley, who's already had some proven success at the MLB level, and he just needs to figure it out with the injury bug that has plagued him over the past couple of seasons. But also Huascar Brazoban. I don't expect Huascar Brazoban, even if he turns out a strong spring training, to make the open day roster. He was actually electric for the Miami Marlins in the first half of 2024 before he came over to the New York Mets at the trade deadline, and then he struggled mightily in a Mets uniform. His stuff is absolutely nasty. He's electric and he's got a lot of great movement on his off-speed pitches. But again, another guy that struggles to find the zone at times, which comes back to haunt him. He has two minor league options associated with his name. So again, he's definitely going to be that AAA depth should the Mets need him at any point. Just as we know, the 162 game season is grueling at the MLB level. I think we'll see Huascar Brazoban at some point in 2025. It just won't be immediately. And then Brandon Sproat. I am watching Brandon Sproat very closely, but I don't think it's realistic, even given the way this rotation looks. Even if he has a strong spring training, there is, at this point, there shouldn't be any desperation in order to rush him up to the MLB level, even given the Frankie Montas injury. And now, understanding the recent reports coming from Anthony DeComo and John Heyman that the Mets actually probably aren't interested in a Jose Quintana reunion, and they're more comfortable going with internal options and not spending that extra money in free agency with all the penalties associated with going out and getting a guy like Jose Quintana. Do I think that's the best option and the best answer? No, I'd rather just go get Jose Quintana and eat the extra money because you need an arm at this point and he's a proven veteran. But I do understand going the internal route. I do not think that Brandon Sproat is a candidate to make this six-man rotation out of spring training. We will see him in 2025. He's got some things to figure out at the AAA level, but he's still, he's not young per se because he was a full career collegiate guy at this point, right? So he's approaching 24 years old, but he has risen through the ranks of this farm system so quickly, more quickly than anyone could have even imagined, especially the Mets front office. So I don't think they're going to rush him. He will be in Queens at some point in 2025, given the rotation outlook. I just think that it would be a disservice to him in order to rush him right out of spring training, even if he impresses. But the fastball, the slider, I mean, everything that he possesses in terms of the actual pitch capabilities, it's there. And he's going to be MLB ready soon. But again, I just think that he is going to start off his season in AAA, and with good reason. There's no reason to rush Brandon Sproat. Okay, Mets fans, now that we've gotten to the end of this video, please, as always, make sure to hit the thumbs up button, but let me know what you think of the names that I've talked about and the positional battles that I kind of got into here in this video. Middle infield, the last bench spot, the last bullpen spot, maybe a rotation spot. What do you all think? Who are you all watching out for? Do you like this list? Would you tweak it or not? Let me know in the comment section down below. It's your boy CP. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. Until the next video, this has been another episode of the True Mets Talk podcast.